Donald Trump rants and raves at the press. I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just telling you, you're dishonest people. But I'm not ranting and raving. I love this. I'm having a good time doing it. But tomorrow the headlines are going to be Donald Trump rants and raves. I'm not ranting and raving.
This is a radio station of the SDC radio networks. The music of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Thanks for listening.
Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
In an era of big data and fake news, political leaders are changing, and so too the way they campaign. What you post on social media is being watched, being used, and what you see is crafted like never before. And bestriding this vast digital frontier is Cambridge Analytica, a company which trawls personal data to try to predict, then alter voter behaviour. A company which claims it was pivotal in getting Donald Trump elected, but which today, extraordinarily, has been suspended from Facebook. Through this former insider, we can reveal it involves a data grab of not just hundreds of thousands of user profiles, but around 50 million. And accusing Cambridge Analytica of this and more, their former Director of Research, Chris Wiley.
If we look at what Cambridge Analytica does online, it's coercive. People don't know that it's being done for them.
It's time, says Wiley, for us to know more about the methods of Cambridge Analytica.
Computers are better at understanding who you are as a person than even your coworkers or your friends.
This is an information war. He says social media is the battleground and you are the target.
It weighs on me that I played a pivotal role in setting up a company that
that's a mental patient, created. I mean, you can't. There's no, because whatever Trump says is meaningless. You know, in another tweet he did this weekend, he tweeted over the weekend that that the fake news, and this is where the Facebook stuff comes in, but the fake news was reporting, according to him, that he was going to hire another lawyer. Oh, no, I'm really happy with the team I have. I am not adding an attorney. I'm thrilled with Ty Cobb, and I'm thrilled with Dowd. And then all of a sudden this morning, he's going to hire. Now, people who watched an inordinate amount of cable are going to know. You remember Victoria Tensing and Joe DeGeneva? They're a married couple. She had red hair, and he was like balding badly. And they were all over Fox News during the impeachment of Bill Clinton, just screaming like Jeanine Pirro screams now about McCabe.
All right. What we're seeing here, Sean, is what we would expect to see in a third world country, where a political party is using their justice system to not only surveil individuals, but to change the course of a presidential election. This is not just, some case where people are, playing around with statements, trying to get them to change statements. This is about changing the course of American history by using the most powerful weapon that we have in the justice system, the federal anyway, the FBI. I have been saying from the beginning, Sean, this guy McCabe needs to be taken out in cuffs. They should not be paid by the American people. He shouldn't be able to dictate when he's going to leave. And by the way, I have to say one thing. Sean, you just said that Christopher Wray was shocked when he read that 4-page memo. You know what? How could he be shocked? He's the head of the FBI. Everything that you and I have seen that we've been talking about for the last year has been something that has been corroborated factually. And now all of a sudden he's shocked? Why are they shocked on the day before the public is going to get to see this information? Assuming the president lets it out.
Okay, this was her talking about the Nunes memo, which was completely debunked in about a heartbeat, okay, and how Andy McCabe needs to be handcuffed. And, you've heard this rant of hers over and over again, attacking the FBI. Why? Because Mueller's getting very, very close, and they need to discredit any work that Comey did. They need to discredit any work that the FBI did. They need to discredit Mueller, who was appointed by Rod Rosenstein because Jeff Sessions recused himself because he had meetings with Russians, and they know how deep this goes. And so they've been on a tear trying to trash the FBI. Of course, the president trashes the intelligence agencies who concluded that Russia actually interfered in our elections with a preference for Donald Trump. So he goes on this tweet storm that the Mueller probe should never have been started. Well, it would not have been started if you didn't fire James Comey. So now, go ahead, over the weekend, Dowd is saying, maybe we ought to end the Mueller probe. Maybe we ought to. So they've changed their position for, we're cooperating. I can't wait to testify. I want to testify under oath, Trump said. Let Mueller call me. I'm so excited. I can't wait to clear my name, tell the truth. I want to do it under. Now, all of a sudden, they're trying to end the Mueller probe, and they have been floating a lot of trial balloons. Now, you know why Andy McCabe was fired? Andy McCabe was fired because there's a inspector general. His name is Michael Horowitz. He's looking into any wrongdoing by the FBI on the Hillary Clinton email probe, on the Hillary Clinton Foundation probe, and anything that happened in the New York field office of the FBI with regard to Giuliani, with regard to James Kallstrom, with regard to holding on to the Anthony Weiner computer for like 3 weeks and then turning it over to Comey at the last possible second with no forensics ever being done on Weiner's computer, and then going, I think I ought to, you really ought to check this computer like 11 days before the election, Mr. Comey, because we've neglected to do any forensics, and maybe there's some emails on there from Hillary Clinton, right? Which caused James Comey to have to make a public announcement that he was reopening the Hillary Clinton email investigation 11 days. The whole thing is a mess. It's a mess. And it was all started by fake news. It was all started by Fox. Now, McCabe, his big crime that the Inspector General... Now, we've not seen the Inspector General's report. It's not been made public. So we don't know exactly what Michael Horowitz found with regard to McCabe. But it seems like McCabe's big crime was that he allowed some FBI personnel to talk to a Wall Street Journal reporter to correct the record after the reporter called the FBI and said, we're going to go with a story about an investigation into the Clinton Foundation. And this is the story we have. Would you like to comment? Because that is what the newspapers do. They don't publish stuff about you before they call you and tell you that they're going to publish, and they ask you for a comment. That's how it works. All right. So the FBI did call, and they told McCabe, who was acting director, that they were going to do I think it was the number 3 at the FBI at that time, that they were going to do a story, and McCabe felt that story was inaccurate. And he wanted to correct the record, and so he allowed a couple of FBI people to sit down with the Wall Street Journal. That is his big crime. Yeah, because he allowed FBI personnel to talk about an ongoing investigation. Now, he had the authority to do that. He did. He actually had the authority. He didn't need anybody's permission to do that. He didn't need to ask James Comey if he could do that. And this is what apparently he says he told Michael Horowitz. Now, the spin from the fake news media is that Andy McCabe lied to the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz. And Andy McCabe, released a statement shortly. He's never said anything because, he's maintained, his stature, his composure, his dignity, his obligation to the FBI to say nothing. But over the weekend, he had it, and he said, I absolutely never misled the Inspector General in any way. He sat down for an hour-long interview with CNN. He said, this is the result of a series of attacks designed to undermine my credibility and my reputation. He gave a complete statement. Here it is. CNN published it. He said, I have been an FBI special agent for over 21 years. I spent half of that time investigating Russian organized crime. As a street agent and supervisor in New York City, I've spent the second half of my career focusing on national security issues and protecting this country from terrorism. I served in some of the most challenging, demanding, investigative, and leadership roles in the FBI, and I was privileged to serve as deputy director during a particularly tough time. For the last year and a half, my family and I have been the targets of an unrelenting assault on our reputation and my service to this country. Articles too numerous to count have leveled every sort of false, defamatory, and degrading allegation against us. The president's tweets have amplified and exacerbated it all. He called for my firing. He called for me to be stripped of my pension after more than 20 years of service. And all along, we've said nothing, never wanting to distract from the mission of the FBI by addressing the lies told and repeated about us. No more. The investigation by the Justice Department's Office of the Inspector General has to be understood in the context of the attacks on my credibility. This investigation flows from my attempt to explain the FBI's involvement and my supervision of investigations involving Hillary Clinton. I was being portrayed in the media over and over as a political partisan, accused of closing down investigations under political pressure. The FBI was portrayed as caving under that pressure and making decisions for political rather than law enforcement purposes. Nothing is further from the truth. In fact, this entire investigation stems from my efforts, fully authorized under the FBI rules, to set the record straight on behalf of the Bureau and to make clear that we were continuing an investigation that people in DOJ opposed. The Office of the OIG, the Inspector General, investigation is focused on information I chose to share with a reporter through my public affairs officer and legal counsel. As deputy director, I was one of only a few people who had the authority to do that. It was not a secret. It took place over several days, and others, including the director, were aware of the interaction with the reporter. It was the type of exchange with the media that the deputy director oversees several times per week. In fact, it was the same type of work that I continued to do under Director Wray at his request. The investigation subsequently focused on who I talked to, when I talked to them, and so forth. During these inquiries, I answered questions truthfully and as accurately as I could amidst the chaos that surrounded me. And when I thought my answers were misunderstood, I contacted investigators to correct them. But looking at that in isolation completely misses the big picture. The big picture is a tale of what can happen when law enforcement is politicized, public servants are attacked, and people who are supposed to cherish and protect our institutions become instruments for damaging those institutions and people. Here's the reality. I am being singled out and treated this way because of the role I played, the actions I took, and the events I witnessed in the aftermath of the firing of James Comey. The release of this report was accelerated only after my testimony to the House Intelligence Committee revealed that I would corroborate former Director Comey's accounts of his discussions with the president. The OIG's focus on me and this report became part of an unprecedented effort by the administration, driven by the president himself, to remove me from my position, destroy my reputation, and possibly strip me of a pension that I worked 21 years to earn. The accelerated release of the report and the punitive actions taken in response make sense only when viewed through this lens. Thursday's comments from the White House are just the latest example of this. This attack on my credibility is one part of a larger effort, not just to slander me personally, but to taint the FBI, law enforcement, and the intelligence professionals more generally. It is part of this administration's ongoing war with the FBI and the efforts of the special counsel investigation, which continue to this day. Their persistence in this campaign only highlights the importance of the special counsel's work. I have always prided myself on serving my country with distinction and integrity, and I always encourage those around me to do the same. Just ask them. To have my career end this way and to be accused of lacking candor when at worst I was distracted in the midst of chaotic events is incredibly disappointing and unfair. But it will not erase the important work I was privileged to be part of, the results of which will in the end be revealed for the whole country to see. I have unfailing faith in the men and women of the FBI, and I am confident that their efforts to seek justice will not be deterred. So here you have this career individual, not a political appointee, but a career FBI agent who obviously had the authority to send a public officer out to talk and correct the record of a Wall Street Journal reporter prior to the printing of a article that was going to comment about a Clinton Foundation investigation. So here is the man that's doing the Clinton Foundation investigation being called by the Wall Street Journal. And he goes, no, I don't think that's exactly right. Here's what we're really doing, just to correct the record before you publish. And remember, he was investigating the Clinton Foundation, which, by the way, would help Donald Trump if it became public. And Donald Trump is sitting on a bed like a 300-pound man, you know, on his bed, tweeting and firing another Republican.
Clear.
This is a radio station of the SDC Radio Networks. The music of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Thanks for listening.